Alright, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to give you an ultimate guide for Azami. Hopefully this is going to be the last guide you ever need to watch to be an Azami main and to be good with Azami. First of all, I'm going to start off by talking about the loadout that you're going to want to play with Azami. She has two primary weapons. One of them is an SMG and one of them is a slug shotgun. I personally prefer to use the 9x19 VSN. The submachine gun. I personally can get more kills in quick succession with it, and I feel more confident using it. However, there is situations where I do use the shotgun, and that is if I'm trying to create some strange long angles and trying to have some fun. But for the most part, if I'm trying to win, I'll play with the SMG. And for attachments, I always use hollow A, I think, yeah, hollow A, flash hider, vert grip, and laser. The thing with the sights is it does not matter what I play. I personally prefer hollow A. You can play whatever sight you want as long as you're comfortable with it and you feel like you play the best with it. That's all that matters at the end of the day. When it comes to barrels as well, the same applies. However, I personally believe that best recoil comes from the flash hider, so I use the flash hider on like everything. I will always recommend to use the vertical grip. I don't really believe that the other ones give too much value comparatively to what the flash hider brings. So I always bring the flash hider. And the laser, what you have to consider with the laser is make sure that you know you have it on, like you're not holding angles that people can see your laser, because obviously everybody can see your laser in the game. So you want to make sure you're holding angles that does not make your laser visible and does not expose your position essentially. For the rest of the loadout, it's pretty much like standard. I do use impact grenades over barbed wire just because I feel like impact grenades work well with Azami. You can impact out keybars and push people and play aggressive if you want to do that, and you have that option there now with the impact grenades. So there's two ways that you can play Azami as an operator. You can either play passively or aggressively. I'm going to go through examples of how you can play both ways now, just to like suit whatever suits your playstyle best. So if you want to play Azami as a passive operator and you want to play like passively and hold off map control and burn time, which is the way that I would recommend that you play her. You want to do things like use the keybars to create position. So I'm going to use the chalet top floor as an example. So generally as a defender you want to hold off library control for as long as possible, and you want to hold off the top mezzanine area so they can't really breach the wall, they can't really push K9 window into K9 door. You want to hold off this position for as long as you can and burn as much time as you can. So how would you do that with Azami? You want to create, like, think about where the weak points are. So I know as a player, like, the weak point is this library double window, because you can see the door. Like if I'm trying to fight the K9 window, they can see it's from behind on the door if I swing out wide enough. They can also fight back against, like, usually people will reinforce this wall and create like a little hole here to fight the window on a pixel. As you can see that pixel there. They can fight back against that, and also just like you probably generally will have just this one reinforcement to play behind, but using Azamis you can create multiple angles to play off of and multiple ways you can peek people. So if I don't have an Azami right now, the only way that I can swing the library window to fight back against them jumping in is to swing the door, which is an easy kill for them if they just hold that one angle, or to try and hold the pixel. But obviously because the pixel's that tight, they can just jump through that and get past that pretty easily. So what you can do is you can place an Azami on the side of this table here like this, and this gives you an extra position to play if you want to push in and play a bit aggressively. Like if someone's jumping in there and just sitting in the corner, you can kind of push up and see if they like expose themselves to you, not knowing that you're there. Or you can fight against the window from different, like, multiple different angles and different like elevation levels, as well as also just giving you some extra cover on the door if you want to like fight angles that you might like have to swing wide against. It gives you just some extra cover and you can use these angles to fight back. Essentially with Azamis you can create power positions out of thin air. All you need is something to put the Azami on. Doing this allows you to mold the flow of the game, and the attackers have to work around your Azamis. They have to like fight you on your terms rather than them being able to just steamroll through. They have to think about and do some problem solving of how do we get around this Azami. Generally as well, with the way that the game will flow when you're playing Azami is they have to fight you in situations that you're more comfortable in than them, because if you do a setup that you made and you're comfortable with, then they probably might not have seen it before. They might not know how to counter this Azami setup, so they have to work around your place. So things that you need to think about when you're playing this like hold off map control style of Azami is, how do you fight against the angles that you're trying to hold? Like how do I fight back against the library? So I'll do this one to fight against the library window and to fight like to swing around and create more angles. I'll also have to think about how can people counter me where I am right now. So I know, because of like knowledge of the game, if someone goes on this highway window by sitting on the roof or just sitting on the window, they can see me if I swing wide against try and fight K9 or something. They can see me from that window. So as an Azami player, you have to think about how do we counter that? What can we do to prevent that? So what I would do is just put an Azami here on the side of the door frame. boom, it blocks off that angle, and you can also prone to see if anybody tries to jump in to fight you. Like if you know they're on that window, they might try and jump in and rush you while you're like shooting at somebody else. So you can take some shots and then prone and then get ready for them to push you. Another way on this position especially is how you can be countered is from the K9 window. Like if you're trying to swing library, by the time you're swinging it, you're exposed to the K9 window. So I like to put one on the side of here as well, like that, and then it blocks off that angle. So you can still swing it if you swing a bit wider, but also you're safe enough to swing the library door as well and hold like weird angles. So that's kind of like the gist of how you would play like in this sort of hold map control style of Azami. You want to first think about how can we like make our angles to fight easier, and then you want to also think about how can we like prevent people from getting us out of this position. Another thing to do with this playstyle, and probably the most important one, is you can waste all the time in the world, but you also want to try and stay alive more than anything, because as a zombies you get them over time, you don't get them all instantly, so you need to stay alive to at least get them all so that you can make value out of them. And how do you do that? Well, the way that I do it is to always plan my rotation back to site and always plan my way back. So I know that like this one here is keeping me alive. So I know if this one starts to get shot, or if this one starts to like get destroyed by a Flores or something, I know I need to start either leaving or playing aggressively, because if I sit in this position, I'm going to end up being a sitting duck. So there's two options. You can either leave, go back to site, play your life, play your one ways, like play your setups on site, or you can start pushing up aggressive and like play for your death, like play for your play to take someone with you. Essentially, most like 9 out of 10 situations, I will nearly always say just to play your life and get back to site and use the rest of them to create angles on site. There is like the odd chance that you might want to play aggressively. You might see an opening, you might know that this player always carries diffuser. If you go kill him, you get the diffuser, and then at that point it's a more favorable round for you. So essentially what I'm trying to get at is make sure you have a rotation back to site. So I know generally my rotation back to site will be to sprint back to piano from here, right? That's if this one starts to get shot, but also now we have to think about how can we be safe rotating back. So we know that this angle exists, which is kind of hard to block that whole thing off. However, what you can do is just to give yourself some extra cover so that the time that you are visible to the enemy is a lot less. So I put one there. Now I have like a little bit smaller of an angle to cross compared to like if it's not there, it's a much bigger angle, right? So it basically cuts that angle in half if you look at it by like size wise. So essentially you want to make sure that you're able to fight the angles that you want to hold, you're able to hold this position down, and you're also having a rotation back. So I know if one of these two start getting shot at, I'm going to start thinking about rotating back quickly so that I can stay alive and play the rest of my zombies on site. You don't always have to do them exact zombies that I'm doing if you're playing this map. You're creating ways to rotate back to site, you're creating ways to hold your position safely, and you're creating ways to fight angles aggressively, safely. Now the other way to play Azami is to play aggressively. Now, the ways that you can do this is, the best way that I like to do it is to create one ways with the Azamis. Now, generally what I will do is I'll start off by playing that like hold off map control style, and then I'll rotate back to site and use them aggressively to create one way angles on doorways and on like windows and everything. So, how can you do it on doorways? Literally all you have to do is put one at the top of the door, like that. Like on a double door, just kind of pick a side that they're probably going to cross from. On this one, it's always going to be the right side. No one's really going to cross from the left and fight you. You want to put it quite high up like that on the door frame. Sorry, quite low down on the door frame, like as low down as you can possibly get it, like that. And now if I'm holding this angle, it creates a really awkward fight for the attacker because we're further away from the angle than they are, so we can see deeper down. So we can just start spraying at them like that. From their angle, they cannot even see over the piano. Like, even standing as far back as you possibly can, they can't see over the piano. They have to crouch to fight your angle, which makes them a much easier target to kill. Another way that you can do this to like make it even more favorable is if you have any extra Azamis left, like if your setup doesn't require 4 Azamis, you can put one on some cover that isn't as big and create a bigger cover so that you can just stand up behind it. Then all that's visible is your head. They have to crouch to fight you. It's very, very, very winnable at that point. But yeah, that's the 2 ways to like play Azami and 2 ways that you can do it. What I would recommend is that you start off by holding some kind of map control that's pivotal to the round that you're playing and the site that you're playing. Then rotate back to site and use the rest to either create more positions or to create these one-way angles that make the fights like so much in your favor. because you've wasted so much time on the roam and on the like holding map control, that once you get back to site, they're going to have to start pushing in aggressively, and if they're facing one ways, it's going to be really hard for them to push through that. Another thing to mention with Azami is once you've wasted all this time on the roam and on the like holding map control, once you come back to site, they might even get to a point where there's like 10-15 seconds left. At that point, you don't need to create these one ways. What you can do is use the Azamis to fully just block off doorways so they can't come through them. So like I'll do this in an example. If the time is that low that they have to come into the door and plant, or come into the door and try and frag you, if you block off the door like that, it wastes a little bit of time where they have to punch it or shoot it down, which both take some time. And if there's not much time left, it just creates more confusion. Not more confusion, it creates more like stress and more panic for the attackers when they're trying to push. So that's just another option you can do as well. Some more tips that I'll give you for playing aggressive with Azami. One cool thing that you can do that's really fun that I enjoy doing is to like place an Azami and swing off it at the same time. So like if you know someone's playing top mezzanine here and you want to play aggressive on that angle, you can place down an Azami and swing while it's being like popping up like that, and swing around it. Because while that's popping up, it creates some cover for you to swing around it and kill them, right, obviously, but also you can see them through it while you're like swinging, while it's like popping up. You can, if you like look for a split second, you can see through it. Like I can see through that angle while it's popping up, and then I shoot them through it like after it when I swing around the angle. So it just creates like a weird fight. And if they like hold an angle close on the doorway, you to swing out wide with that cover, they'll start shooting at you, and then the Azami barrier will pop up, it'll start blocking the shots, and then they'll have to like correct the recoil and try and like follow you, which is kind of awkward to do. So it just creates weird winnable fights for you. Another thing like that I like to do with Azami that I mentioned in the loadout phase is in the loadout section. Another thing that I like to do with Azami that I mentioned in the loadout section is to play impacts. And once you've blocked off a doorway, if attackers are starting to melee it, all you need to do is wait for them to melee it like twice. Then once they're about to go for the third melee, if you just impact out of it, you can just swing them while they're like trying to melee. If you get really unlucky, they might actually melee you, which is just unfortunate, but chances are you'll be able to swing around and get a freebie on them while they're like not ready for you to be there. Generally you like to do it, I like to do it personally after the second melee, because people might bait it with the first one just to see if you are going to do that, and then once they've got the second one, all that's in their mind is like, let's just break this Azami down by hitting it a third time. So once you hear the melee twice, if you're playing close, you can swing off it. And then as well, once you've done that a few times, like it's going to start getting predictable, so you want to start trying to bait it by like maybe running around close to it just to make some sound, just to get them scared and to waste a little bit more time. Every second that you waste counts towards winning the round. Another way that you should play Azami is to create setups based on how the attackers are going to push. So it's all well and good having set strategies for every site. However, if the attackers push, that like generally if you do that, it'll create a weakness, like it'll create an open spot. So let's say we do all that setup top library, but the attackers start pushing from solar side. All these setups are useless and you can't pick them back up. What you want to do is you want to think about where the attackers usually will push from. Even if that means saving it until you're saving your setup, like saving your Azamis until you know where they're coming from by like sound or cameras that are being shot, or seeing them on cameras. And then start putting them in that direction just to make sure you're definitely 100% going to get a value out of them. I'll have like one or two that I'll place every round. Like for the library hold, I'll probably place the one on the library box inside of library. This box here, that one, I'll place that nearly every round just in case, because library is very heavily contested. And then once I know they're starting to come this way, I'll put the one here to cover my back, and then I'll put the one for K9 if they go on K9 window. If they don't go on these angles, you don't need to put them there, but if you think that they are going to go on it and you have information to believe that they will, then put them down to be safe. Don't wait until they're already on the angle shooting at you to put it down, because then you might mess it up, you might swing, you might die. So make sure you know that they're going to go there by getting information from your teammates or getting information from cameras, and then start putting them in that direction. And also like think about what side they're going to push from. If you're setting up all of this shit on this side, they might push from the other side. Just be wary of that. Just make sure you've got some left, or make sure that you're setting them up after you know already where they're going to come from. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I will say though, I have got full setup guides for maps. Like I've got every single site on nearly every single map in like Azami guides in videos. So if you want to see them, they are on my channel. If you want to click on my channel and click the little magnifying glass, you can search for Azami and you'll be able to find them all. So yeah, if you want to watch some like guides on specific maps, then make sure you do that. But if you enjoyed the video, drop a like and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.